Hello everyone and welcome back to another pre-release video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Boston Sprinter route, which is releasing as a part of TSW2 Rush Hour. If you are excited about this route and want to see more of these videos, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. To start off the video, let's talk about what this route is and where it goes. The route in-game runs from the Boston South Station in Boston, Massachusetts to the Providence Station in Rhode Island. This route is a busy one, traveling between the capitals and the largest cities of those two states. The route doesn't just travel between Boston and Providence though, as the line includes a small 4-mile-long branch line to the Stoughton Station. The route will include both MBTA and Amtrak services, with MBTA trains serving all stations and Amtrak trains serving only the Boston South Station, Back Bay, Route 128, and Providence. They've even recreated Amtrak's turnaround move at the Boston South Station, where trains reverse out, run around a loop, and reverse back into the station, with the cab of the train now facing the opposite direction. With the route only going to Providence, you would think that only the Providence-Stoughton MBTA line would be included, and while that is the only playable MBTA service, DTG has added in AI services, such as services from the Greenbush, Needham, and Fairmount lines. This also goes for Amtrak, with the Northeast Regional being the only playable Amtrak service. However, other services like the Lakeshore Limited are included. Unfortunately, there are no playable or AI Acela services. I assume that DTG left some room in the timetable for them though, being that the in-game timetable is based on the real-life one. With all of these AI services being included in the route, it will be a very busy one. According to DTG, there are 700 services altogether, including AI services, and in the preview stream, it was seen that the route has 187 playable services. The route is about 50 miles long with 14 stations. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the Forest Hill Station and the Foxborough stations are included. I'm not too sure why, as those stations do see Providence line service, even if it is relatively limited. The route also doesn't go the full length of the Providence line, as the actual terminus of the line is Wickford Junction, about 20 miles south of Providence. While some services do terminate at Providence and run back to Boston, there is a fair number of services that would run all the way to Wickford Junction, which means that these services will probably run off of the map and game. This route will include 3 pieces of rolling stock. We have the Amtrak ACS-64 City Sprinter, the MBTA F40PH-3C, and the CTC-3 cab car. The Amtrak ACS-64 City Sprinter is an electric locomotive built in 2012. Constructed by Siemens as a part of its Siemens Mobility series of trains, it runs on most Amtrak services, primarily services along the east coast of the United States. The units are based on the Eurosprinter series of trains, commonly found in places like Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. You may find it a bit easier to operate the train due to this, as it is similar to that of the BR-182 Taurus. These units are commonly found pulling ex-Metroliner cars. Trains usually only have one of these units in a consist, meaning there needs to be a cab car at the other end of the train to return in the opposite direction. Most services run with cab cars, however some don't, specifically services that run north of New York City. Those services normally terminate at Boston South, and trains run around the aforementioned Boston South Loop to reposition the locomotive for return service. The MBTA F40PH is a diesel locomotive constructed by General Motors in the mid-1970s. Specifically, the units featured in the game were constructed in the late 1980s. They share some similarities with the F40PH-2 from the Peninsular Corridor route. However, they have many differences, like the different lap brakes, a different engine, and in-cab signaling, with ATC and access. And finally, the MBTA CTC-3 is a cab car unit. This is one of many different cab cars the MBTA has on its roster. This car is here for the operator to switch ends instead of having to take the train around a loop or balloon track to turn it around. DTG also mentioned that there will be some CSX layers on the route, and CSX locomotives and freight cars will be placed in yards and sidings. These trains cannot come out onto the main line though, as the CSX cars in TSW don't have in-cab signaling, so players will only be able to do a bit of switching and shunting with them in the sidings. Now, since the first pictures of the route came out, players have noticed a fair number of inaccuracies with the route. The biggest one I've seen involves the countdown clocks, also known as the PIS or passenger information screens. They're just blatantly incorrect. Now, it was addressed in the first preview stream, with Matt saying that they didn't have enough reference material to make new PIS screens, so they reused the inaccurate ones from LIRR that Adam and his team created.
So these are actually the ones that Adam's team did for Long Island Railroad.
Right.
And there's a number of reasons for that. One of them is that that we just didn't have a lot of reference for what these would look like, and it's not just as simple as here's a photograph of one. We need to know what all the slides are, how they actually animate, what they do, and everything else. And one of the things we found, and this is a real shocker, people don't take videos of these for a few minutes at a time and upload them to YouTube.
Minus some things like the MBTA cars having barely any weathering and looking very plasticky, the route and rolling stock seems pretty accurate to me, and the sounds are on point, with them finally including track noise. This route being the first American passenger route to be created for TSW since the release of the Peninsular Corridor route back in 2019 is a highly anticipated one for American players. American content for the game has basically been non-existent recently, and while I do know that we've just gotten Clinchfield Railroad and Cane Creek, those are two freight routes, and the passenger routes are usually the ones the community is looking forward to the most. The route is set to release on Thursday, August 19th for a standalone price of $29.99 USD and a bundle price of $39.99 when buying the season ticket, which includes the upcoming London commuter and Riesa to Dresden routes. Are you excited for the Boston Sprinter route? Are you going to pick it up on release day? Or are you going to get it when it goes on sale? Happy rail fanning. Peace.
This is quite interesting. So a lot of the stations on this route are bi-level. So you can see here we've got a low-level platform and then we've got a high-level platform. Now Route 128 station is mostly high-level. And so almost all of this train will be, I think all of this train will be on high level. But some of the train stations, most of it's low, and there's like one coach level that's at one coach's worth that's high, and it's for disabled access. And I know I've seen on the forums people asking how that would be dealt with, and the answer is properly. When you stop the train, it works out whether or not the door is in front of a high level platform or a low level platform, and will raise the trap door for the low level platforms and leave the trapdoor down for the high level platforms. I'll show you what I mean, because this has got the trapdoor on it as well. Once I open the doors, so on a low level platform you can do the trapdoor. On a high level platform you do that, and the game will figure out whether or not it should do the stairs or the trapdoor according to where you stop along the various platforms.